Hey guys, welcome back to Our Old Farmhouse. In today's video we are making a worm composting bin. Super simple project that's going to benefit your garden quite a bit, so stay tuned. Alright, for the purpose of this project you are going to need a standard drill, a variety of drill bits. I was able to find this cooler plug on Amazon for approximately $3.50. You will need 3 Sterilite totes or similar brand totes. And then you're going to need 1.5 to 2 bags of loose fitting topsoil. For the purpose of this video we're going to be using Black Magic. Alright, so using your drill and with your bit, you are going to want to find a spot somewhere near the bottom of one of your bins. I recommend somewhere in the center where it's a little bit stiffer in the plastic. Once you have that done, you are going to want to drill a hole that's going to be a snug fit. For this particular plug, it is a 3/4 inch bit. Alright, with that portion drilled out, we are going to place the male end on the exterior of the bin, and we are going to go ahead and twist that in with a little bit of force. Again, it is going to be a tight fit, so if you need to, you might have to open up that hole a little bit, but it should be able to fit in on its own. With that in, we're going to go ahead and tighten up the female portion on the interior. Now, as you can see, I left this approximately 1/2 inch off the bottom, and some people will insert these on the bottom, but this is going to allow it to allow the waste product to fill up a portion of the way, and it's going to keep any debris from coming through. And it's also going to make sure that even with the female fitting on the inside, that it's still getting the same amount of water coming out of it. Alright, now using a smaller bit, something along the lines of a 3/16, we're going to go ahead and drill multiple holes across the bottom and across the sides of this. This is going to allow that wastewater to flow out of this bin into the bottom bin that has our plug into it. For the third and final bin, we are going to use a drill bit that's approximately twice the size of what we used in bin 2. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to drill holes across the bottom of that bin, across all sides and on the bottom. So again, following up with bin number 3, these holes are going to be twice the size of what were used in bin number 2. Alright, with our first bin down on the bottom, with our drain plug facing outwards, we are going to take our second bin. This is the bin that has the smaller holes drilled into it. That is going to sit right inside of this one. The reason why we went with the smaller holes again is to stop any kind of particles from the first bin or the second bin falling through. There's going to be some, and again, that's why our drain plug is a little bit elevated, just to keep us from draining that out. With that second bin in, we're going to go ahead and add about 3 inches of premium loose fitting soil. Now with that added, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our top bin on. This is the one with the largest holes in it. We're going to go ahead and firmly press that down, and we're going to fill this approximately 2/3 of the way with the remaining soil. Alright, And with the soil in there, we can go ahead now. I would lightly mist this down. We can go ahead and add worms to it, and we can go ahead and put any kind of compostable materials in it, eggshells, vegetables, anything like that. Approximately once a week, you are going to want to water this down, keep it in a cool place, and generally speaking, within a couple of weeks, you'll have the access to drain water down here out of it. That water is great for the garden, and then after that initial setup, every week after that, you should be able to get some water out of here. Go ahead and put it in any container plants, right onto your garden beds, into your lawn, or into your traditional compost bin to help accelerate the breakdown of materials. Now, I will let you know that that water coming out could have worm eggs in it, so I wouldn't put it on any kind of indoor house plants, but as for everything outside, it's going to do wonders. Alright guys, now that your worm compost bin is complete, you're going to want to bring this in somewhere cool. For most people, that's going to be their basement or their garage. For us, that's in our barn. We do have this out here next to our rabbits, and you want it to be somewhere where it's going to be easily accessible, somewhere where hopefully it's not going to freeze if you're looking at producing year-round. If you're someone that lives in a climate like we do in Michigan, we don't have anything really growing outside during the winter, so if it does freeze, it's completely okay. Your worms will be fine. But this is where we're going to put any of our compostable materials, such as eggshells, banana peelings, tomatoes, any kind of kitchen scraps that will go in our compost. I will add a portion, probably 25 to 50% of it, to this bin here. Unlike our main compost bin, I am going to cut that up a little bit more finely inside, just to help that process break down a little bit quicker. Doing that in your outside compost bin is also recommended, but it's a little bit more important when you have it in such a smaller, controlled environment like this. Now, one thing that I do have to remind everyone is make sure that you put worms in here. If you don't put worms in here, you're not going to have worms, and it's going to break down, but it's going to take so much longer. You can easily go online, you can purchase worms, they're very expensive, or you can find some outside and you can add it to the bin. I enjoy doing that, especially with the kids throughout the year, and continue to add to this, because over time your worm population is going to increase in here, but you're also going to have some that die out just naturally. By no means should they ever on their own completely die out, but I do like to add variety to it and to continue to add to that population. Now, with that said, for the first 2 weeks, you're going to want to water this every day. I recommend about 2 to 4 measuring cups of water. I'll actually leave the bottom plug here open for those first 2 weeks, and really you shouldn't have anything coming out the bottom here. If so, either one of two things is happening. First, you have too much water in here, or secondly, you're putting in the water too rapidly. If you think that it's the second issue, just pour it in a little bit slower, or add it to like a shower watering can, something that's going to more evenly distribute it. Once that's done, you are going to want to plug this back up, and then you're going to want to come out here and you're going to want to add those compostable materials, preferably as often as possible. If you can do it every day, go ahead and do it every day. If it's once a week, that's perfectly fine too. As long as you can close the bin on the top, you're doing great. Some people will want to use a small hand shovel to mix it up a little bit. It's not necessary, but it will help speed up the breakdown process. And then just make sure that you're adding a little bit of water to this every 3 to 5 days. You do want to keep it fairly moist, but you don't want standing water in it by any means. If you're pouring water in and water's pouring out the bottom, if you did have it open, that means you have too much water, or you're adding too much at a particular time. So, you know, on those days, I'll add typically about 1/4 gallon of water to this. And I'll keep an eye on it when it starts to turn fall and it's not quite as dry out, or even in the summer when it's super humid out and it's not evaporating very quickly. I might skip a water, maybe even 2 waterings, but usually by the 3rd week you are going to want to make sure that you're adding some water. And then after those first 2 weeks, I start draining this once a week. During the hottest time of the year, maybe every other week, but generally speaking, once a week. And during that once a week time, I'll get approximately about 1/2 gallon to 1 gallon of water out of this. Now, because the plug is a little bit off the bottom, it's approximately 1/2 inch. It's going to take a little bit of time to build up that base amount. and then it's going to come out. And then after about 6 months, I will remove the top 2 barriers because the bottom container only has the water in it, none of your worms. I will dump that out. Generally speaking, I'll clean it out too to avoid any kind of like fungus or anything like that from starting, and then I'll let it dry out real well and I'll put it back in. With that said, any of the water that you collect out of here, you know, put it right on your garden. It's going to do such a wonder helping your plants grow. It's packed full of nutrients. Not only does it have the composted nutrients that have broke down, it's also got worm castings in it. It's going to have worm eggs in it as well, so it's going to increase the worm population in your garden. Any of your container plants that are outside, I highly recommend this. Some people, they don't want worms in their interior plants, so if you're one of those people, I wouldn't put the worm water in here in those plants because it will have worm eggs in it. But if not, you know, go ahead and use it. There's really, worms aren't going to affect you inside. They're not going to be flying around or crawling out. They'll stay right there in the soil, and actually they'll help the soil health of your interior plants as well. Overall, this project shouldn't cost you more than $15 to $20, and it shouldn't take more than 30 minutes to complete. Filming this slowed me down a little bit. I think I was right at 30 minutes. So really fun project, super fun to do with your kids. I've seen people that have gotten the clear coats, and you can clear totes, and you can kind of see what's going on inside. Again, that's even more fun with kids. But again, it's just a great way to add another element to your homestead or to your garden. And it's fun telling people, or when they ask, you know, how many animals do you have on your homestead, you can say, well, I have, you know, 10,000 worms or 1,000 worms, depending on how many of these you have. And over time, I highly suggest that you add 2 or 3 of these. That way you have different stages of breakdown or decomposing happening, and that you constantly have every 2 to 3 days at that point. If you have 3 of these, you're getting some kind of end product out of it, so that either that waterable material, or you can take some of the soil out of here and supplement it back in. So what I really like to do is if I get 2 or 3 of these going, I'll take some of that soil out in the spring or kind of late winter, early spring, and I'll use that for my seed starts in our greenhouse, and then it's packed full of nutrients, and I'll restart this in the spring. And because it only takes 2 weeks to get going, it's so much faster than regular compost. And like I said, you guys are just going to love it. So give it a try. If you have any questions or comments, you know, leave them in the comment section below. We'll get to them as quickly as possible. Hopefully this is a fun way, an enjoyable way that you guys can expand your homestead. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, or you know anyone that could benefit from this, please share it. We are always looking to add subscribers to our channel. And if you have any recommendations on future videos, we'd love to hear it. Thank you guys, and you know, keep up the good work. And again, any questions, let us know.